What's up? What's up? What's up, y'all? I always say that like Martin. That was one of my favorite comics. This is Rebel Ray, y'all. How y'all doing? Listen, we made it partly through this week. It's been a doozy. I don't know if it's retrograde. I don't know. I haven't been keeping up with my star systems. I don't know, but the empaths are really taking a beating. This is shadow warfare. This is work that you got to do to get to your best self right now. And for those that are not as spiritual, it's just basically meaning that you're being tested. Life is throwing arrows, things are coming at us, and everything is always ordained like it's supposed to be. Um, because we often find when we are supposed to show up and we're supposed to meet or find something in our path, it is always on time. And I have a very, very special guest today. And she's going to share with you a lot of her studies. She's going to share with you who she is as a healer in the community, and even how you show up as a mom, how you show up as a professional, right? Especially when we're working in double standards working environments, right? Especially when we're dealing with those traditional roles as a woman. And also being a woman of color. There are so many different pressures that we deal with to sometimes be perfect. And a lot in this world, we like to see absolutes a lot of times, right? They teach us to be champions, especially higher performing women, right? And there's no shade that I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to say that there's different levels to how you want to show up. That's all I'm saying. And so I've always tried to be a high achiever, but I've also rose the bar where you can swing right, swing yourself right into burnout, right? You could take on so much. You can feel the urge to support and gather, and you forget to take care of yourself. So, as powerful women that we tend to have to juggle and support our males in our life or our spouses. Um, we tend to have to juggle the children and all of their personalities and all of the things that affect them. This is part of the process too. This is the prune tree as well. Um, and so we have brought our beautiful guest, and I want to make sure that I get her former title. And I got to go into my notes because that's just who I am. But really understanding the cause of all of this and being able to share with us what she does, right? And it will help us with making sure that we're showing up as our best selves. Nico, if you don't mind, can you send that to me? I have so many messages, but I want to make sure that I have the right flyer with her information because I'm not seeing it in our notes here. But I want to make sure that I take my time to introduce her because it's very special. And I see that our backstage has her book, and thank you so much. Karen Casey Gibson. And she comes all the way from Hawaii. She's in Hawaii right now. She's an author, is a former special education teacher who founded a private tutoring business and letting go with Aloha, a parent coaching service for overwhelmed parents who struggle with raising resilient, responsible, and respectful children. Her first book was inspired by 100 videos she uploaded to her YouTube channel during the global pandemic. Come on, Karen. Come on, y'all heart it up. Heart it up for Karen. Karen, come on camera. I want to see you. I want to welcome you. Hi, Karen. Y'all heart it
Aloha.
up.
Thank you so much for having me here, Rebel Ray. Such a
Oh my
pleasure.
God. Thank you so much. And first of all, you look absolutely gorgeous in
Oh,
person and on your book. I
thank
will
you.
be purchasing your book
Oh,
and making sure that whatever how many books we need, we're going to purchase for our community too.
Thank you.
That's what we do, and I'm so happy to have you. So I gave a little bit about that background. I set the tone for you to have this deep conversation,
Mm-hmm.
growth, development, maturity, understanding to forgive yourself when it gets heavy. So I'm gonna turn it over to you.
Well, yeah, of the 100 parenting tips, it actually was started with a friend telling me to just give a couple of weeks of mini videos prior to the distance learning. And then it turned out to be 100. And I
Mm.
decided to turn into a book because, as you remember, back in 2020, it was an overwhelming, somewhat traumatizing because we didn't know what to do. We didn't know how to navigate academic environments. I know a lot of the little ones had to like attach a document. You had grandparents. I just talked to someone last week, and the grandparents, right, sitting down next to a kindergartner who couldn't be in class. So everything was, it was bizarre in many ways, but I think it also brought the community together because we supported, right? We supported the students in our lives.
Listen, that's powerful. And I don't know if you were able to hear a lot of my past videos, but I try to be as fluid, but also truthful, honest, and transparent in my truth. And I was one of those parents that was hit hard. And I often tell just shorts of these stories because I don't really go into depth like I would like to in this time where you need to show vulnerability and you actually need to talk about the story of the struggle. So many people, they're scared to.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a lead in my truth and my power. I struggled in the pandemic. Had my first baby at 30, got pregnant and had a COVID baby,
Oh.
a C-section. They put us on isolation. My mother, my extended family, those that will come and deliver you to the home and make the home warm and make sure they're waiting on you because you just had a baby, all of that was shut down.
Mm-hmm. That is rough.
So here I am. And then my daughter didn't get her milestones for preschool. That was disrupted. Didn't get her little graduation. So we didn't do a cap and gown little ceremony, right? And then she's hurdled, and I felt like it was hurdled. I had Amir Giovanni, and I always tell about his miraculous story of how I was hemorrhaging out even in the pandemic. So we shut down March here in California in 2020. I
Mm-hmm.
had Amir in July 2020, right? And still being an essential worker, being a mental health therapist.
Mm-hmm.
When you talk about juggling and being a single mom, paying all the bills, making sure I got them to childcare, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I'm pregnant on disability in the pandemic. Remember what happened in California? They couldn't pay people out on their unemployment and their disability pay.
Mm-hmm.
So you start worrying about all these things. On top of that, my son was born, my daughter started kindergarten. When you're talking about learning fully how to write your name, your ABCs, and your numbers, actually learning how to operate a full PC, a
Yes.
personal computer, on top of mom, really, we don't know if we should be in the camera. So
Yes.
I have a funny story about that. Remind me to tell you, girl, because I tell you, we went through it. Okay. So I feel that when you say this, right? Because the social norms and the social constructs that we
Mm-hmm.
were reared in, even having extended family in the home to help you with the little ones, all of that changed drastically
Mm-hmm.
after the pandemic. But the social expectations of women, eh, you still gotta go to work. You still
Yeah.
gotta operate a camera system and figure out homework. And the teachers don't know how to throw the homework through the email or whatever
Yes.
Dropbox system they had. And then it was a cognitive, social, emotional gap. Tell me about that. Tell me what you were seeing.
Well, I was about to end Brain Builders, which is my tutoring business that celebrated 25 years in August, and I wanted to go full time, letting go with Aloha parent coaching. But I had all these parents just panicked, and so I decided to be a resource. I was there tutoring. I went to homes with masks and tried to guide them everything from academic instruction, how to do homework, because some of the kids had to like record themselves playing the flute with no instruction, right? And then emailing a picture of the math assignment. With little ones, I mean, even phonics, right? When you're math, you can't even see the teacher enunciating. So phonics was difficult.
Come on. Come
And it
on.
was just quite an experience because my daughter is a class of 2020. So in Hawaii, she had her first drive through graduation, mask, get the leg, get the diploma. Do we take off the mask? Yes. Red carpet, take off the mask, smile, put the mask back on. Prom canceled, project grad canceled. And I loved it when the community got together. So when we drove through the neighborhood, they were, balloons and cheering. And I think it really brought the community together. I mean, a lot of the bands, like the groups actually recorded a special graduation announcement to include class of 2020 and really make them feel like they were special. They didn't lose out, which is very difficult when prom is canceled, like your dresses. So my older daughter actually had a photo shoot, dressed up, it was just her taking photos in our yard. But we had to have a lot of just spontaneous, like, what are we gonna do? My older one had a birthday party with just her and her friend under a tent with the lays and the balloons and just the two of them, because we had to practice social distancing. Yet you want to celebrate the milestones, right? So it was quite a challenge, but I think it taught us a lot about resilience.
Come on.
It taught us that it's okay. After the pandemic, I had a lot of students say, you know what, Miss Karen, I think I didn't learn anything the past year or two. And it's okay because you're never behind. You catch up and you work at your own pace. I really encourage kids to know that they didn't miss out. They weren't behind, and everyone will eventually catch up. I mean, now it's been 4 years, right? A lot of emotional, like you said, emotional, mental, right? Just challenges because we've never navigated a global pandemic.
I want to slow it down in like the analysis of
Mm-hmm.
how keen you were in being able to describe even what our children who were illiterate, what they were trying to
Mm-hmm.
figure out in the world. And a lot of times they read faces or they read
Yes.
mouths. Or so when your full face is hidden, you're not communicating. So I noticed too, like before I took the executive director job for Reinvent South Stockton Coalition, I was working as a mental health worker in the field and with children. And I noticed, Karen, like talking to all of the other educators, all the other, adult humans that were taking care of the kids within the school, they were just as frustrated
Yes.
because they had kind of like missed the social ineptness part of their lives for whatever reason. I think it also like shined the fact that maybe we're so codependent on one way on how to teach that, and we slowly adapted on like how to re-engage and connect and support. But for people who were just solely like dependent on touch, on facial recognition, on being able to see, they kind of panicked. So tell me,
Mm-hmm.
what did you do for parents like that who still had high anxiety? They were like, they didn't know how to pivot. Talk to me about how you supported those parents.
Well, I think it reminded them that none of us, we were all thrown into this pool and really did not know how to navigate, which is why the teachers didn't know how to even access the documents that they, had the students had to attach. Some of them just had to, right? You had to like take a picture of it. You had to download it. Sometimes the teachers didn't receive it. So then the marks would go down, and really remind parents that academics, I know we're trained. I've been an educator for 3 decades. It is not all about academics. It's about mental health first, and really reminding parents that, and it's a huge thing because as an educator, I was always about academics, 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 right? You're focusing on the grade, you're focusing on accomplishments. But during a global pandemic, we really have to take care of your mental health. Being a mental health professional, right? We need to really look at what is truly important, because kids feel they're behind, they're incompetent, right? And they don't know. So even now, is reminding parents again who, I'm hired because they want the A's, and then really understanding that it's not about the A's. It's really hard to accept or even, internalize that it's not about grades. I think I made it about grades the first 2 decades. And it's only during the pandemic I realized, what are we doing?
Thank
'Cause
you. Come on.
I have
Okay,
6
Karen,
girls. Yeah,
listen. And we
yeah,
can get into that education archaic system too,
yeah.
because I know our children, they also work and live within real world experience. And we don't often use that. We use
Mhm.
academia that we deem that needs to be evidence-based practice. But I tell people all the time, indigenous folk had other ways on how they educated their
Yes.
people, but they were very educated. They charted out the stars
Mhm,
without any research that was behind them. They were the founding roots of that research. So
mhm,
we have the enableability to go back to those roots and support. And that's my indigenous cultural lens that I bring into mental health. Because when you're teaching this to scholars who have always been trained their minds to just focus on academia,
mhm.
they deem it as, well, if they don't get these milestones, then they didn't really achieve. Both of my children are brilliant, just like me, in social ineptness. They pulled through. They were able to connect, support, guide people, advocate, right? Even for their young ages 9, one's about to be 10, and the COVID baby, the 4-year-old.
Mhm,
But he does well also that I noticed that he needs to also learn his little milestones, right? Like how to connect and share. Those are the things we always need to learn. But I
mhm,
learned like in the family village. Let's talk about that extended family systems for a moment. So we're going to parents. Parents, there's a resilience lens that you also, I'm just reviewing what we've talked about. There's also that second lens that you were saying about paying attention and being, I would say, responsible to making sure that I'm just not looking at what academics put in front of me. I'm looking at, milestones that were created and that they were celebrated, and I was emotionally there for the child. That's what you're saying, right?
right.
Okay. And then, so thirdly, let's talk about that extended family support system that got broken down. Because sometimes you would see grandma, but then law said at the time, seniors don't come near younger children or
Exactly.
separate, right? So they didn't think about family systems that grandma was the care provider or the immediate provider for even the second generation, the first generation, right?
Mhm,
So sometimes the care provider from the first generation is trying to take the third generation to school while the second generation is working hard.
mhm.
And I found out, ooh, conflict broke out.
Yes.
Because now mamas that wasn't paying attention to their spouses, or the husband wasn't paying attention to the mama, they was in one room, and you couldn't leave. You was in one house. Everybody was locked down.
Exactly, right.
So talk about the impact of the family systems, because I want to share some lived experience I heard from a lot of our residents and community members.
Well, I've had great grandparents come in because the grandparents and their parents are so busy, right? Because if you're an essential worker, you're out of the home. So you would have to have someone come in your home, mask up. And I had one student Rebel Ray, on the phone. We had the academics on a little phone. He was 5, and he said, "Mommy, I can't see it." And then I come to find that they're not even on a laptop; they're on a phone. You know how tiny, how
Right.
tiny that it's hard enough to do it on a laptop. So a lot of creativity. I found out that if the audio didn't work, guess what I did? I did algebra on Instagram messaging. I
Come
mean,
on.
we
Oh, I
became
love your
so creative.
solution focused mind. Come on.
Oh, and it was like the blind leading the blind. I said, hey, I know that Instagram is okay, go in there, type up the problems, do little essays, and a lot of times with Wi-Fi issues or audio. Can you imagine? I can't do sign language, so I would write, okay, ABCD, show me the letter. But I didn't realize that if you trust your intuition, right, lean into creativity, the children will also come up with just amazing, genius ideas in how to communicate, how to learn. A lot of times we would just have to, okay, borrow your mom's phone, right? They didn't have a phone, borrow grandma's phone. Okay, we're going to do the audio here, but we're going to do the video via their laptop, because with Wi-Fi connections being like, okay, sometimes you're in and out. I learned a lot, and then even using the whiteboard, the little kids love that. A lot of people say they can't do virtual learning. I have witnessed that you can engage, showing like, okay, here's a candle, here's this, or here's and then draw, okay, use red, draw, on the, and they get into it. So I think it's really
That's so
adapting, like you said, major adapting, major creativity, and just trusting, right? Trusting that the academic journey will
mhm.
be okay.
So, what were some of the levels of concern? So, or do you all use ACEs screenings there, or some type of tool to screen for trauma in the home, or that's okay, Moses, trauma in the home, or anything that's happening within the home that also you could probably have assisted? Because I would love to share that information with educators here.
Well, I think because of the shutdown, though, the services were limited. So that was the hardest part, because you could be told, right? They'll share the trauma that the child, parent, grandparents had. But because we were limited in services, we really had to trust intuition, really know how to connect emotionally, mentally, so that, it's almost like that educator is now being a therapist without the therapist degree, being a mom, being the cheerleader, being a nurse, being entertainer. I mean, everything all rolled in one. And then operating on little sleep, right? Operating on like, we didn't know, no one knew. And so even when I jumped in, I had to navigate, the long distance learning. How do you submit, right? Different teachers demanded different ways. So it really was a constant reassuring,
Let's go.
constant nurturing, because
It's
no
the
one knew.
way you look at the problem, and
Yes,
you really focus on solution focus. So the way you wrote this book, you wrote it in a way where um you supported, and look where creator sent me to page 78. So you guys, I'm going to read this if this is okay for you.
sure.
Parenting tip 71: make self-care a priority. As an educator for more than 25 years, I realize that many parents fear experiencing mental breakdowns. If parents do not make self care a priority, sanity is often hard to keep. Self care can be something as simple as watching a 30-minute comedy or engaging in an activity that fuels your soul. Take 15 minutes to walk around the neighborhood or soak in a relaxing bubble bath for 20 minutes. If parents don't ask for help, sanity may be difficult to keep. Parenting doesn't have to be solitary. Venting and sharing your worries with a friend can relieve some of the stress. Managing everything from household chores, tending to work responsibilities, helping children with their distant learning, motivating them, and enforcing discipline can be overwhelming. Life can feel like juggling a dozen razor blades. Oh my God. If that's not imagery in those words, parents can help prevent parental burnout by delegating tasks that can be done by others. Find another family member to take care of time consuming tasks like laundry, grocery shopping, and preparing meals. Keeping one's sanity is often the primary goal of most parents. Ashe, Queen. Listen, you laid it super plain. You laid it super plain. That's what I'm talking about. And I love this little illustration you put up here.
The
Oh
parental
my,
burnout.
listen, because many days I feel like that, Karen. If I could just have a moment of transparency, I look like this doodle drawing too. all, all slumped over on my desk, like, huh. And you are so right. You're so right. I went out with my girlfriend yesterday and I just had a venting session. And it was great. We end up laughing because we're both goofy. And I could breathe. I can
Hmm.
breathe. And juggling those razor blades, you're dealing with hits of rejection. You might be dealing with imposter syndrome. You might
Hmm.
be dealing with guilt, maybe guilt of a loved one that you outlived, or
Hmm.
maybe guilt or survivor guilt. Um, I also hear, like in grief and loss too, when parents are going through this and they're juggling and they're trying to prevent burnout, just like not being able to show up the best way for your kids. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, during the pandemic, we had my mom live with us, and she had the Alzheimer's roller coaster journey. So you're talking about, right, an eighth grader. My oldest one, fortunately, was here. She is now 28, but back then, you figure that was 8 years ago, right? And homework being not stolen, but misplaced because of grandma, you know, hiding it, putting it in her crayon box, in her makeup drawer, wherever. That added to it. So, like you said, if you're a single mom, you're managing some other mental or physical, right, illness, and then you yourself, you're totally burned out. So venting, great way. Some people said I can't. My funny story. This one mom said, "You know what? I can't go to the bathroom just to use the bathroom because mom, 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 mom." So she would say, "I need to take a shower." She took 4 showers a day, Rebel Ray. The showers would give her at least 10 minutes versus, mom, mom, mom using the bathroom. But I said, suggested anything that gives, and if you have to rely on electronics, so be it, because you need your sanity. Release the guilt of, you can always put on, I suggested some educational videos. Sometimes it could just be, whatever is kid friendly, but you need to fill up your own cup. Or I say you're filling a broken cup, which means you will always feel tired and just, you don't even know if you can handle the next day, much less the next minute, right? It's truly overwhelm.
I appreciate you saying that. I appreciate you grounding as well and being vulnerable and sharing that very intimate memory and example of family dynamics, even within your home. It was very courageous of you to have that conversation. Yeah. And I have a friend that's dealing with mom that has dementia, and it can be exhausting, and oftentimes showing up. So a lot of people that all oftentimes, let's talk spirit a little bit, because a lot of my empaths watch the show and they always look for little tips, and we like to share. So if you're like this powerful empath, everyone comes to you and you're exhibiting this resiliency factor that you talk about. You're practicing your tips. You're also practicing, just like how you convey your boundaries, per se, or even with your spouse.
Hmm.
I hear a lot of women, they're not in the mood to get in a moo
Hmm.
moo. No. Let's keep it PG. We don't know who's watching. Um, and so a lot of times it's very hard to center themselves. They may be dealing with low libido. And so they are failing with engaging in with their spouse and being romantic. That puts a strain on the family and the mommy too, and the parent too. So, what's some tips around that?
I think couples really need to be open to communicate, because a lot of times one avoids uncomfortable conversations, but really putting it on the table and being honest. A lot of times, the date could be, I mean, it was funny, on our anniversary, my daughters cooked, and it's like, just holding hands, watching a family movie. You might need to include everyone, because if you have little ones, you can't be like, okay, bye, and you're leaving a 3 and 5 year old, right? So it's creative romance. You can still feel cared for. It's like when you first give birth, right? And you can't be going on dates, but we would put a blanket, have a picnic in the living room. I remember it's tough when you want to balance it. You want to feed everyone's, bowl, but sometimes it's knowing that it is temporary whenever you're going to
Mhm.
any hardship, right? And they, like you said, emotional boundaries. When I look at all, like you, right? A lot of people just share a lot of things, and it just, since we're empaths, we take it all in, right? And then our energy is drained.
There it is. Come on.
Really knowing that it is not yours to carry. This
Woo.
took me
Hold
years. It is
on.
not yours
Woo.
to carry.
Look, Karen, I didn't almost caught the Holy Ghost. Listen, my southern Protestant coming out. Jesus, you better say it one more time for the ones in the back. Say that one more time,
It
please.
is not yours to carry, even if it's your child, your parent, your spouse, boyfriend, even if it's grandparents, because we, as women too, I think men too, but for moms, we take it all in. We need to fix, we need to prevent always from happening. We want to make sure that this is fixed, this is found. I had to really let go of lost items. Mom, do you know where am I? And really be okay with saying, I don't know. Be okay with the tantrums. Be okay with being blamed, like, well, you're supposed to know. And knowing that it's okay to be disappointed.
Uh-huh. I'm here.
It's
I'm here
well,
still.
it's okay to have your loved ones be upset. I think that's the thing. We do not want our loved ones to be upset with us.
Ooh,
But how
Karen.
do we prepare for real life
Come on,
if
you
you teach your
talking, you dropping
kids?
gems. Hold on, you dropping nutrients and fertilizer for these roots tonight. I don't know who's speaking through you, but the light is coming through. Listen, let's talk about those social dynamics because they look differently a little bit culturally. So
Yes.
I want to start from the Southeast Asian community, the Sikh community I see. My girlfriends be telling me, look, my mother-in-law got on my nerves today. She living in the house. Uh,
Well,
right.
my
And then
mom's
a
from
lot of them,
Japan. Yeah, my mom's from
right. Or
Japan. I think, you have families, right? And the kids will say this, you don't understand. My mom becomes obsessed because I'm like, oh, you have a nice mom. No, you don't understand. They become evil. I remember this one fifth grader, and I was like, no, no, really. And his eyes were just, and then the mom's on the side. What are you saying? See, I told you. I mean, the conversations that you witness, and it is, you know what? It's okay. It's like telling yourself it's okay if you're criticized. It's okay if you're told, you're not doing your job as a mother, because they are only sharing what they feel, and generational gaps, generational trauma. I mean, it's real, right? And how do
yeah.
you accept that it's okay not to be seen as perfect? It's okay to be told you
Mm.
messed up, because we're only trying our best. That's all we can do.
Karen, I need to come over there to Hawaii and be with you for a little bit.
Yes.
Coach me on the beach. You hear me?
Yes.
Take me to the luau and the buffet. And just speak life into me. Karen, you know what you're doing. 100 parenting tips inspired by the pandemic. Karen Casey Gibson, I want to tell you thank you. This
Thank
enga-
you.
this engaging conversation, I'm not even going to draw it out because I want you to make your money. You better go get this book. Okay? US dollars 11.99. Where tell us where we can purchase it.
It's on Amazon, Barnes and Noble. But I want to also share. Oh, Mama's Gotta Let Go. There it is. Mama's Gotta Let Go, How to Let Go Without Losing Your Sanity. That is based on a very um, personal story where I lost my sanity when my oldest went off to college. So there
Mm.
are many letting go exercises in there. And if you see the balloons, it's letting go of stress, judgment, anxiety, chaos, and fear. Just really letting go, and it is all about not carrying what's not yours. Especially when you have
Ashe.
older ones leaving the house, and you think they're leaving. You know, a lot of parents, right? You don't realize how painful that is.
Mm.
Way more than childbirth. They focus on the childbirth, but when you leave the nest, when you're still babies to you, 18, 19, and you think, how do I trust? How do I accept? How do I navigate the new journey when your little ones, you know, they're actually leaving the nest, but you're not ready. You're never ready.
I love your perspective. I love the queendom too that you exhibit. It
Oh,
is it's a seasoned woman. I am nothing to
thank
be
you.
played with because I understand wisdom. I'm so grateful to have a wisdom keeper, Avia Standard,
Oh,
to be on the podcast and really just drop some gems. Didn't come on here, didn't play, brought the light all the way, shined it. Listen, you're inheriting every level of light, peace, and blessing because you're working and you're teaching others. So I will be buying both for your books and probably a couple copies to pass out to some friends and keep in the clinic offices. And I think we will talk some business offline as well when it comes to our community because our community needs these teachings and you don't have to live here
mm-hmm.
per se. You can teach Zoom. And so
Yes.
that's something we need. We need practicality. We need healing with a healing lens. And we also need tips because no one wrote a dictionary, but you did. Okay.
Can I add something because you are an empath? Because I think we share similar views. I am hosting a free reparenting your inner child virtual
Ooh.
retreat. It's on November 9th. And Mafe has, her team is just amazing. So we
Yeah.
are sharing the links on my
Oh,
social
please.
media.
We will be sharing the
Very
links on my
inclusive.
social media
Yeah.
pages, on all of them, my clinic. I also will probably be disseminating into the coalition so they can
Thank you.
disseminate it to their families and partners. Because I hope that webinar holds a lot of people because I'm going to be pushing it. And
Thank you.
I'm a quick reader. So when I tell you I'll get into something, I can eat this up in a couple of hours. This is some good stuff. Even just what I scanned so far in the book also that you held up, I'll be getting that. Now, where can we buy those? Is that on your social
Also on
media?
Amazon. Yes.
Okay.
On Amazon. It's on my social media as well. On my website. Website is Letting Go with Aloha. So all the books are on there. Services. A lot of people just book a complimentary 30-minute call just to find out like what can I do. Sometimes you feel like you're drowning and all you need is just someone giving you a lifeline, right? Just saying, hey, it's okay. You will be okay. And most of
Wow.
all, it's okay not to feel okay. When I was in one of the deepest depressions, my daughter wrote these message cards, and one of the things she said was, "Mom, it's okay not to feel okay." And I cried. I thought to hear that permission, give yourself permission to fall apart because you will pick up the pieces.
You
You
will
know,
pick up the
you
pieces.
will, and lean
Ooh,
on a supportive
Ashe.
tribe, right? All you need is a supportive tribe, and it could be virtual. Lean on your sisterhood, lean on a tribe, and we'll get through anything, right? With a tribe, you get through anything.
The ancestors sent you, sister, today.
Well, I
I'm
was
serious.
just so honored to be chosen to be on the Prune Tree podcast. So thank you so much for this
Thank
opportunity.
you. You are amazing. Thank you so much. And we'll be connecting shortly. Before we leave, I wanted to just encourage you with everything that you heard today from Karen. And we could put Karen backstage now. That you heard from Karen, check out her book. Check out both of her books. We will make sure that we post that to the Prune Tree podcast. It's important that even though from day to day we have these, conversations, they could be courageous, they could be critical. Today was a come to Jesus moment. I'm gonna have an altar call right now. There's a come to Jesus moment. I hope that something saved somebody today. Remember, it is Suicide Awareness Month coming up. And if you're feeling overwhelmed, I want you guys to look up the suicide prevention line. You can put it down at the ribbon, but I just felt led after Karen's words to put that in the podcast. If you're struggling, we're going to normalize for you right now. Um, Today is today and tomorrow is tomorrow. And I sound like that meme when I called my sister and she didn't know what she was talking about. No, it's the truth. Stay in the moment right now. And if the right now is agony for you, you reach out to somebody. You reach out to anybody that you can find. You talk to yourself. You find a kind person. If you got to go sit in the park and engage and just talk to someone, a neighbor within a community, connect, because that's what's going to save us right now. And if you're experiencing burnout, make sure you reach out. Reach out to your mental health clinician. Reach out to a pastor. Reach out to a friend, a sister, a brother, a confidant. Don't tell all your business everywhere and always complain up. This is some OGs taught me earlier in this year. You don't complain to people that can't change it or support it or don't have your best interests. And you keep moving, stay encouraged. This is the Prune Tree Podcast. I'm Rebel Ray. We thank Creator for the messages he brought today. I was serious about that. Ancestor came in. Be safe on Halloween. I meant to tell y'all that. Be safe. We have a couple of trunk or treats that are happening Saturday. We have the Patrick Martin Foundation trunk or treat that will be happening, and that will be at the gym, the Merlot gym. And let me bring that up because I said I would always make an announcement and uplift someone what they're doing in our community. But yeah, I have a great trunk or treat. Come have a spooktacular night with a costume contest, treats and music, October 25th. 2024 from 6 to 8 p.m. Merlot Gym parking lot, 2044 Fair Street, Stockton, California. And that's the Patrick Martin Foundation presenting the second annual trunk or treat. And we also have the Harvest Festival at Van Bersker Community Center on the south side that will be having their trunk or treat on Saturday, which they call it a Harvest Fest there. So check that out. It's a lot going on. Safety in numbers. Remember, don't take candy from strange people. If it tastes funny, spit it out and be safe. This is Rebel Ray. Peace.